Hi everyone, this is the first in a 6-part series of videos where we'll be learning about Shimi and how it works. In this series we're going to be recreating the beats shown in this video linked above. This video, the first one in the series, is just going to cover the basic setup of connecting to Ableton Live and playing some notes. So before anything else, being a MIDI controller, Shimi needs to know where to send the MIDI data that it's generating. And for this we have the Midi Outputs section. If I click to add a new one, we'll see that it automatically populates with the first available MIDI output that Shimi can find. And if we check in Ableton in the options preferences, we can confirm that Ableton is also set up to receive messages from this MIDI port. So we can see here loop MIDI port. So everything's looking good. Now we'll add a device where we can start adding behaviors to. And I'm just going to use a UK QWERTY keyboard. So if I click add, and from this drop down we see UK standard QWERTY here, but we can also see various other options for MIDI controllers, game controllers, stuff like that. The list is still growing of devices that Shimi supports, but when I click that we get a virtual representation of the device on my screen. Before we actually start adding behaviors though, it's worth understanding how Shimi is structured. It has various modules that perform different purposes, and each module has its own set of behaviors that perform specific actions, either immediate quick hit actions or more long running ones. The inputs on devices as well as certain modules have their own events, and these events are what we add our behaviors to be run whenever the event is triggered. This all sounds complex and kind of convoluted, but an example should make things much more clear. So now, for our purposes of just sending out some note data, that's handled in the general module, which handles just general purpose MIDI functionality. So we'll click add general. And I'm also going to add a logic module, and I'll demonstrate the purpose of that in a moment. So now if I click on my J key, we can see over in the right hand side we get some info about that key. For example, if I press it, we can see the state of that key change from 0 to 1. And just above that we have the input behaviors section. And this is where we can actually add some behaviors to that input. So if I click add, we can choose what event to add it to. So I'm going to select the pressed event and go into the general module, and in there we have the start note behavior. So if I press that, we can hear a note, and I'm just going to change it to channel 5 so we get on a different instrument. And you'll also notice that Shimi's actually automatically added this end my behaviors behavior onto the released event of the key. And what this is basically doing is that when the key is released, it's going to end all behaviors that have been attached to that key. So if I uncheck this, essentially turning off the behavior, then when I press the J key, when I release it, the note doesn't stop, it continues to ring out. And for my purposes, that's actually what I want, so I can just delete this behavior entirely. So now I'm just going to copy the behaviors on that key and just paste them onto the neighboring keys. And I'm just going to change the pitches of those. So this is going to be a G above, and this is going to be the C an octave above that. So now we've got Shimi set up so we can get some output from Ableton Live, and we've got a few notes playing. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next lesson we'll be looking at starting to add some chords as well. So I'll see you there.